tonight, you go on them awesome, right? If you go on tonight, there's a 4-part documentary called the Al Nakba. It's done by Al Jazeera. You aware of Al Jazeera? The news you get, right? It's 4 parts, so it's on YouTube for free, right? And it just briefly, in depth, sorry, goes over how this, like a digression of the Palestinian population happened, right? And what's happened is that these people have just been condensed into areas like this, right? They had all this land. People lived here, north of Palestine, up and down the country, right? But now Gaza is the most densely populated planet on, not planet. It's the most densely populated place on planet Earth. It's got, it's got the most amount of people in the short, in that region of, let's say, land. It's 25 miles long, so it's as long as a marathon, and it's about 5 miles wide. It's like a strip of land, right? And it's got the population of, let's say, about Manchester in there, right? So so there's not enough room to build houses. So what people do is they build flats upon flats upon flats. So when Israel throws a bomb that goes to the whole building falls, it increases the casualty numbers. Why? Because there's families living in those flats. So that's why there's a higher number of children and women compared to men that die, because they stay more in their homes, right? The children, they play around, women cook, or whatever it is, right? That normal women do. That happens. So what ends up happening is that the family gets killed, right? So I think right now we're about 60,000 people that have been wiped off planet Earth forever in the last 8 months since October, right? And roughly about 25,000 kids. So the main objective of this table, right, and the recording that we do is just to raise awareness about it, right? We're just standing here for the 25,000 dead children. Right? It's not about anything else. Right? It's about that innocent kids should not have to bear the brunt of people who are power hungry or have a political objective. There has to be some kind of morality that needs to be set in place, right? That's the whole purpose of international law. What's the point of having international law if when an incident like this happens, you can't implement it? So it just goes to show how there's so much corruption within our planet, right? Within governments. I wouldn't say within people, I say within our governments, right? 90% of the country, whatever country you go in, the people will be nice. They'll be friendly, they'll be good-hearted, right? But governments themselves will be corrupt because they have different powers controlling them. So America, Russia, the UK, they always have their hands in other countries, right? Playing their dirty work, right? So Israel is just another proxy for America and the US. Sorry, for the US and UK, just do its dirty work within that region to have political control within that region, acting as a threat. So when you go home tonight, I also recommend you have a documentary called Iraq for Sale.
I've got the YouTube as well.
Which one?
The area I lived in on as well, so that's where I grew up in. So I'm pretty keen to.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So when you go home tonight, you can have a look at that as well, right? But here, something called Iraq for Sale. So there's a lot misconceptions about Iraq as well. No, we don't take donations, but I can refer you to places where you can donate. And I recommend people to donate. Right? But what's happening is that people are donating. There's miles and miles and miles upon trucks of aid in the Egyptian desert. But there's something, when you open this leaflet up here, you don't have to open yours. I've got one here. Right? We're explaining what Zionism is and what it's not. It's not Judaism, right? Here you see Orthodox Jews protesting for Palestine because what Israel is doing is it's not aligning with their, let's say, Jewish beliefs, right? It's not aligning with what they believe in, right? They're saying that okay, one day God will give us this land, but it won't be through violence and stuff like that. So what Israel is doing is committing violence, is doing everything that's wrong, and they're taking the land forcefully. So that's why they're protesting for Palestine.
Yeah.
And there are ethnic Jews that lived there before this, right? Who look brown, who have curly hair, who have Palestinian features, right? Who are not, let's say, Ashkenazi, who are not European Jews, right? And then you'll have people who also look similar like this, but they're Jewish settlers, right? And what they're doing is that they sitting on the road, on the border between Egypt and Palestine, in Egypt, and saying that you can't give aid. We're sitting here, right? So there's a lot of hypocrisy happening within that region, right? We're just trying to, spread awareness and highlight some of the hypocrisy that's happening. It's a charity called Ummah Welfare, I know these guys are 100% donation policy. So whatever money you give them, they will send it there. Commonwealth, I put Palestine. Just type this into Google. And the first link that pops up, you can donate it to there as well. Well, as a Muslim, I'm supposed to stand for justice. The Palestinian people are 80% Muslim, right? And they do embody the values of Islam very well, right? They, for example, whenever they lose a family member, they say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, that God is sufficient for us, right? Even when they lose everything that they have, right? They say, God is sufficient for us. And me, as a normal Brit, I find that so bizarre. I mean, like, you've lost everything that you've had. Why are you thanking God? Well, in Islam, we believe that this life is a test, right? So whatever this life is not going to be eternal happiness. And people who try to chase that are delusional because they will never achieve it, right? This life is a test. You'll have ups and downs. You just need, let's say, a moral compass to help you get through those tests, right? Some are harder than others, right? After hardship comes ease, after ease comes hardship. It's just a cycle of life, right? And what Islam does, right, it helps the person cope with those tests, right? So that's why Palestinian people, they refer back to the Quran whenever, let's say, atrocity like this happens. And Muslims, whether they want to or not, they have, let's say, guidance. But guidance is only beneficial when you implement it or act upon it, right? If I give you medicine and you're ill, and you choose not to take the medicine, that's your own fault, right? You're happy to stay with them symptoms, right? But Quran is not just for Muslims; it's for the whole of humanity. It came for the whole of humanity, right? So, give from me to you. I'm going to give you a copy of the Quran, right? And do you have any questions about what's happening right now?
I've read it up because there was a TikTok, where a woman came on and she said, you see a side of where there's someone with a baby home at him, and the other side of TikTok where it's showing people's lives and people's children being taken away from them. Because there's always two sides.
100%. There's corruption within our government. That's one thing we need to highlight. It's a corruption. We give £2.8 billion worth of ammunition every single year. So 2.8 billion every year goes from our taxes that we pay for. The government takes that money and it uses it and buys weapons of war and it gives it to Israel every single year without a fail. So imagine over the last 20 years, that's 28 billion or whatever, right? That's a lot of money going to Israel, right? Just for weapons, right? And we're like, why are you aiding them that much, right? When they are carrying out these atrocities that don't align with our values. You are a little corrupt circle in the government, right? COVID was a very good display of that. How Boris Johnson has had wines and crackers, and we had this stupid social distancing that we had to adhere by. We could not see our parents in their last moments. Whereas you had your parties and stuff like that, right? You don't care. Right? You want what's best for yourself, right? And when you go home tonight, you look at that documentary called Iraq for Sale. It'll show how they made a lot of money from Iraq when they killed all those people and they got the oil. It'll show you a lot of hypocrisy as well.
Can I go through your handshake?
You know what? What's your name?
Hope.
Hope.
Yeah.
Hope. I love your name, right? And I love you as a sister, right? In mankind. But I can't shake your hand. And the reason being is, Islamically speaking, I'll give you. Let me try to find this right now. It says here, for women are rights over men similar to those of men over women. That's in the Quran, right? So we believe that men and women have their rights, right? But in Islam, for example, we don't shake a woman's hand because we say that you are, let's say, the daughter of somebody's father, you're the sister of somebody's brother. Maybe they might see that in a negative manner, right? Me shaking your hand or giving you a hug, right? So we respect, let's say, your family members by not shaking your hand, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
right?
of course.
In that way, it's like, for example, I'm not allowed to touch any woman who I'm not related to. So if that's not my mother or my sister or my auntie, I can't touch any woman outside that, except if I have a wife. If I have a wife, I can't touch her. That's weird, right? Right. So if they're not directly related to me, I can't. Even my cousins, I can't touch them, right? And that, what that does, it prevents. Because Islam's more about prevention than cure.
Yeah.
So we prevent problems rather than getting yourself into a horrible issue and then trying to find a fix. So Islam says don't drink alcohol, don't gamble, respect your parents. Don't shake a woman's hand. Why? It prevents. Let's say, I'm not. This is very extreme, but this happens. I think there's a rape in America every 10 seconds, right? So Islam-wise, it forces the person to, let's say, keep that distance to protect. That's like your protection in a sense, right? It's your right, right? Islam says don't gamble because we know gamble leads to suicide, to addiction, right? It can ruin people's lives. So can alcohol, right? Yes, you may, there'll be some positives to it, but there'll be more negatives. So Islam is about prevention rather than getting yourself in a fix. Thank you. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I hope you have a good day.